I'd like to tell you the story of the rich man and the poor man. It's one of the stories from the Arabian Nights. The Arabian Nights have stories about Aladdin and Sinbad the Sailor, but this is one of the other stories from there. Anyway, once upon a time, there was a very rich man, and he was walking through a town, and he saw this poor man who was begging. And he spoke to the poor man and said, "Well, if I were to give you a lot of money, what would you do with it?" And the poor man said, "The first thing I would do is I would go and I would buy oil, and then I would trade olive oil with some other merchants and start selling it and expanding a business that way, and then I could provide for my family." So the rich man said, "Okay, I will give you money so that you can start your business. Use it well, and I will come back in a year and see how you are doing." So the rich man gave the poor man a good deal of money, and the poor man took it and wrapped it up in his turban to hide it so it wouldn't be stolen from him. And as he was walking home to tell his family the good news, a vulture came down and stole his turban and flew off with it. And the poor man was screaming and yelling and running after him, but just could not catch him because the vulture could fly faster and higher than he could reach. So then a year later, the rich man came back to town, and here's the poor man again, and he's still poor, and he's a beggar, still. So the rich man said, "What did you do with the money I gave you? Did you waste it?" And the poor man said, "No, you will never believe it, but a vulture stole my turban that had the money in it and flew off, and I couldn't catch it." And the rich man said, "Yeah, right. I think you spent it on luxuries, and now you're out of money again. So, if I take a chance on you again, what will you do with it?" And the man said, "I will still buy the olive oil, and I will trade it with my neighbors, and I will build up a business that way. It's still a good plan." So the rich man said, "Okay, one more chance, but I'll be back in a year, and if you haven't lived up to your promises, I will not give you any more." So the poor man said, "Yes, yes, yes, thank you so much." So then 1 year later, the rich man comes back to town, and the poor man is not there. He is not there anywhere. So he asks around and finds out that now he is a successful olive oil merchant. So he goes to the house of the new olive oil merchant, knocks on his door, and is greeted. "Oh yes, you were the one who gave me the opportunity. It was so wonderful. Thank you. Come in, meet my wife, meet my children. Here, have dinner with us. It is so wonderful." Then that evening, as they're sitting in the garden, one of the children sees what looks like an old vulture nest up in one of the trees around the garden, and tells one of the servants, go up there and look. I want to see what's in it." So the servant climbs up the tree, gets up to the nest, brings the nest down, and inside it, they find a very battered, beaten up old turban. And they bring it down for the child, and the child runs up to the father and says, Father, look what I found." And the man who used to be the beggar says, "Oh, that is my old turban." And he looks at his friend, who was the rich man who helped him, and said, "Now watch this." And he pulls the turban from the nest and opens it up. And inside the turban was all the money that the rich man had given him originally. And he returned it to the rich man and said, "Thank you so much for taking a chance on me." And this is one of the tales from the Arabian Nights.